Well, I mentioned at the top of the show, unemployment dropping for the 5th month in a row. Is the recovery finally beginning to take hold? There's the unemployment rate. There is a 10-year chart for you. But again, these January numbers looking good on the outset, but let's find out more. Michelle Girard, senior economist at RBS, is with me. Hey, Michelle, how are you? I can't wait. I've got a lot of questions for you. Also in studio, I'm bringing in Jim Frischling, co-founder and president of NewOak Capital. So to both of you, I want to ask you both, because there's a lot of market reaction that's happening today based on this. And Jim, let me start with you. Net, you say that looking at both December and January, we end up with about 150,000 jobs. You're saying we need to kind of be careful here on this. Why?
Well, again, I think the important thing today was not only was it a strong number, but it actually really resoundingly beat expectations and actually gave some validation to the 200,000+ that came up in December. A lot of folks were ready to tattoo that number, talking about seasonality and couriers. But again, I think there's now a trend, at least, that the job market really is improving, and there's a fundamental improvement going on. Retailers are adding, manufacturers are adding. So again, I'm not going to say to get so euphoric, because the fact is we still got a long way to go, but at least we are seeing an absolute improvement in these numbers. You
know, Michelle, let's talk about kind of the nuts and bolts of the report. I want to get to the private sector job, and that's what I wanted to see, was the job growth in the private sector, 257,000. Having said that, the estimate was 170,000 initially. Do you think that this is what we need, and is this the trend for 2012, or is this a one-month pop that's going to change in February?
Well, it is what we need. I mean, job growth of this magnitude will bring the unemployment rate down. That's what we've been talking about. You know, so far in the recoveries for so many months, we're getting job growth, but it's not enough to get the rate down. Well, when you're talking about growing at 250,000 or more, you can feel pretty confident that it will bring the unemployment rate down. And I don't think it's a one-off. I think, importantly, we've had wide-ranging evidence that the labor market is getting better. I mean, we talk about the weekly unemployment claims numbers, the number of people filing for unemployment benefits. And we look, even in this morning, we had a report from the Institute of Supply and Management on non-manufacturing activity, and the employment figure in that report was the best since 2006. So I think that there's more evidence, even away from this employment report, that the labor market's improving. So I do not think it's just a one-off event.
All right. I hope that you're right, and I want to take this to the market perspective with Jim Frischling, because, Jim, if that's the case, and what Michelle is saying is this is not a one-off, as a markets analyst, as an investor, does this make you more bullish on equities? I remember back in the day, you liked the retailers, the discount retailers. Do we start picking stocks now? Do we start to really get into the market now?
And the retailers, I think, are on a good run, especially the discounters. So I do think this is a risk-on moment. I mean, there's two major factors that we keep looking at, and they're very interconnected. It's the jobs market and it's the housing market. Again, if you feel good about your house, if you have your job, you can probably weather the storm in your house. And if your house is so underwater and you can't get out from under it, I think that hits your consumer confidence. Fact is, the job market is showing a positive story. The housing market's still in a gridlock and a long way to go. But overall, again, a very positive number, certainly indicating and providing strength to this market. To me, the only two negatives I took away: the long-term unemployment situation clearly remains a major issue, and discouraged workers surged 7%. So there's something going on that needs work. I'm not so sure that the unemployment benefits and the extension of those benefits actually is helping some of the situation. I think people really need to aggressively go out, get a job. There's still unfilled positions, and that needs to be the focus right now.
You know, Michelle, he mentions that, and that's a good point about the amount of people that actually left the labor force, more than 1 million. I mean, does that concern you at all?
Well, you know, the truth is there's some discontinuities in the series. The labor force, if you look past some of the new population controls, not to be too geeky about the whole thing that were introduced in January, actually grew 250,000, and it's up about more than 750,000 over the last 4 or 5 months. So we are seeing the labor force increasing, which is really important, because you do need to have people coming in and looking for work. But the good news is that you're actually having more people finding jobs. Over 2 million people since June have found jobs, versus that gain in the labor force. So that's why the unemployment rate's coming down. And as I said, that bodes well. I'm not sure we're going to see the new trend in employment at 250,000 a month, but clearly that is an improvement there. And just as Jim was saying, it all feeds back through. If you feel good about the economy and the employment situation, then it does bode very well for spending and for housing. So having the income for consumers is really critical, and I think we're finally starting to get that.
Let me get an overall market perspective from you, Jim, because if you look, and I mentioned this as well as we were showing all the different markets and how they're performing today, and today is a good day, and it's nice to see, but for the 5th straight week now, you've got the S&P 500, the Russell 2000, the NASDAQ, all showing strong gains. I mean, the January effect, take it or leave it, I don't care. But can we profit off of this? Can we start to really make bets?
I think that we can profit off this. I will certainly say that the pace to which this year started was certainly strong, and I think people should be a little cautious. It won't be a straight line in any way. And in fact, I actually feel that Chairman Bernanke really reiterated a low-rate environment till 2014. And with that in mind, I think some of the dividend-paying stocks, some of the blue-chip companies that have now lagged behind some of the pure growth stories, I think as the year moves along, will actually still do very well, and we can certainly talk about some specific areas. But again, there's some real headwinds out there. This is not a no-brainer. So yes, a great start to the year. Almost a reversion. People came in less adverse to taking on risk. So overall, again, feeling pretty constructive on the market.
All right. Well, there's the year-to-date performance. Hey, we're kicking it off. And Jim, just to let our viewers know, we are going to have some picks coming up for you later on in this show. And you've been right on a lot of your picks. I just want to let our viewers know that. All right, Michelle Girard at RBS, thank you very much
for
joining us. Good to see you, Michelle.
Nice to see you.